stormy, rain-drenched night, I found myself alone at home, a situation I hadn't anticipated. My original plan was to join my family on a weekend getaway to a cozy cabin in the woods. However, an unexpected work deadline had forced me to stay behind, promising to join them the following day. As the day turned into evening, the rain intensified, drumming on the roof and windows. The flickering of the lights hinted at an impending power outage. I decided to light some candles and make the best of my solitary evening. With a book in hand, I nestled into a comfortable armchair in the living room, the flickering candlelight casting eerie shadows on the walls. The sound of raindrops tapping on the windows became a soothing backdrop to my reading. But as the hours passed, the rain took on a more menacing tone, transforming from a gentle patter to an angry, relentless downpour. I began to feel a growing sense of unease, an inexplicable sensation that I was not truly alone in the house. Every creak of the old wooden floorboard seemed amplified in the eerie stillness, and I couldn't help but glance over my shoulder repeatedly, half expecting to see an intruder. It was during one of these nervous glances that I noticed something peculiar, a shadow moving against the wall. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I held my breath, convinced that my imagination was playing tricks on me. But there it was again, a shadowy figure that seemed to have a life of its own. With trepidation, I got up from my chair, clutching the book tightly in my trembling hand. I cautiously approached the source of the shadow, a hallway leading to the darkened kitchen. As I peered around the corner, I couldn't believe my eyes. A translucent figure draped in tattered clothing hovered in the middle of the kitchen. Its hollow eyes fixated on me, and a ghostly hand reached out as if beckoning me closer. My heart raced, and I stumbled backward, dropping the book with a resounding thud. The ghostly presence advanced, and its voice, a haunting whisper, filled the room. It spoke of forgotten secrets and past regrets, things I had buried deep within my soul. It seemed to know my innermost fears and desires. Terrified, I bolted towards the front door, but the relentless rain had become a torrential deluge, making escape impossible. I was trapped with the malevolent spirit. In desperation, I reached for my phone, intending to call for help, but the screen remained dark, a victim of the power outage. I had no choice but to confront the ghostly figure, its whispers growing louder and more unsettling. It circled me, its presence suffocating, until I couldn't bear it any longer. With a trembling voice, I asked, "Who are you? What do you want?" The ghostly figure seemed to hesitate for a moment, as if struggling to communicate. Then, in a mournful tone, it whispered its name, the name of someone I had once known, someone who had left this world with unfinished business and unresolved pain. As I listened to its sorrowful tale, I began to understand the spirit's longing for closure. It wasn't here to harm me, but to seek solace, to find a way to move on from the torment that bound it to the earthly realm. With empathy, I promised to help, vowing to uncover the truth that would set the spirit free. And as I made that commitment, the storm outside gradually subsided, and the ghostly figure began to fade away, leaving behind a sense of eerie calm. That night, I learned that sometimes the most unexpected and unsettling circumstances can lead to unexpected connections and resolutions. And as I gazed out into the now tranquil night, I couldn't help but wonder about the mysteries that might still be waiting to be uncovered, even in the darkest of storms. As I sprinted out into the pouring rain, my heart pounded in my chest, and my breaths came in ragged gasps. The storm raged around me, like the heavens themselves were weeping in sympathy for my plight. Each raindrop that struck my face felt like a cold, wet finger tracing down my skin, reminding me of the ghostly touch I had just escaped. Fear drove me onward as I ran down the slippery path leading away from my house. The trees lining the path swayed menacingly in the howling wind, their branches casting eerie shadows that danced in the flashlight's beam. The sound of the rain, now a deafening cacophony, seemed to drown out all rational thought. I dared not look back, for I knew that malevolent apparition was close behind. Its sinister whispers continued to echo in my mind, taunting and tormenting me. It whispered of forgotten sins, secrets I had buried deep within myself, and fears I had long thought conquered. The haunting voice seemed to know me better than I knew myself. I stumbled through the darkness, my flashlight barely cutting through the thick curtain of rain, and the wind howled as if it were in league with the ghostly presence. It felt like the very elements themselves were conspiring to keep me captive in this nightmare. Just as I reached the pool of light beneath the street lamp, I felt a cold, bony hand graze my shoulder, and a spine-chilling wail filled the air. I whirled around, my flashlight trembling in my trembling hand. There it was, the ghostly figure, its ghastly visage illuminated in the dim glow. With terror coursing through my veins, I shone the flashlight directly into its eyes, hoping to repel it somehow. The ghost recoiled, letting out a tortured scream, and I took that moment to bolt down the street, not looking back this time. My frantic footsteps echoed through the empty streets, the rhythmic pounding blending with the symphony of rain and thunder. I ran until I reached a nearby neighbor's house, their porch light a welcoming beacon in the darkness. I pounded on the door, drenched and shivering, recounting the chilling encounter to them. They let me in, providing comfort and warmth, assuring me that my home was safe to return to once the storm had passed. As I sat by their cozy fireplace, sipping a warm cup of tea, the ghostly encounter felt like a distant nightmare, something too surreal to be real. But that rainy night, haunted by the memory of that malevolent spirit, I couldn't shake the feeling that it still lurked in the shadows, waiting for another opportunity to torment and terrify. The rain continued to fall, washing away the traces of that ghostly encounter, but the fear it left behind would forever haunt my sleepless nights. It was a chilling reminder that some nightmares never truly end, lingering like ghosts in the corners of our minds. I was home alone that night due to a series of unfortunate events. It had started with a last-minute work commitment that required me to stay late at the office. My family had decided to visit some relatives out of town, and I had initially intended to join them. However, the unexpected workload and the worsening weather had made it impossible for me to leave the office. So, reluctantly, I had to let them go without me, promising that I would catch up later.